girl with a preppy vibe. Came to the spot with a friend of mine. She caught my eye. From the beginning, I was hooked. I can't tell a lie. Fresh, dressed, and fly. I respect her mind. Some dude trying to impress, but looking goofy at the same time. He bugging, she looking. I'm going for mine. Confidently, I approach with that eye-to-eye contact. She smiling while. Hey y'all, welcome to the check-in. I'm your girl, STEMFashionista, and I hope you all had a fabulous Thursday today. Okay, let me tell you, we have so much going on. I know I say that every time I open, but it is true. Let me give you the rundown. So we talked about the Turning Point reporter who was attacked about a week or so ago. We have an update on that. Also, we are coming close to getting out of this government shutdown. We are at day 76. We have an update on that. Trump met with the Artemis astronauts. I think that was yesterday. And so he answered some questions about, Operation Epic Fury and other things. So we're going to get into that as well. Also, Hegseth had day number 2 of his hearing. So, I had the opening remarks and I have some interesting clips of that as well. And who would have thought the Iran leader, the Ayatollah, has made a alleged appearance? Okay, so we are going to get into some of those topics today. All right. So if you're here, please go ahead and like the live stream. If you like the vibes, please subscribe to the channel. Support your girl. And we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off with the Turning Point reporter. They have charged up to 3 people in regards to her being attacked a week or so ago. Let's go ahead and get into that.
Story tonight, 3 people facing federal assault charges after prosecutors say they attacked a reporter outside the Whipple Federal Building.
It happened at an anti-ICE protest 2.5 weeks ago. Fox 9's Mike Manzoni joins us now, and Mike, prosecutors are calling what happened unhinged.
Yeah, this is the video showing that reporter in the middle of that crowd. Several people shout expletives at her as she yells and tells them that she's trying to leave. She then gets knocked to the ground twice.
Get away from me. You gotta go.
Federal prosecutors say the trio, a father, mother, and daughter, went after reporter Savannah Hernandez because she works for the conservative organization Turning Point USA. Chris, Deanna, and Paige Ostrushko all face federal assault charges. Now, Chris and Paige also each.
Let me just say, to do that while this woman is videoing is absolutely insane to me. Okay, he was just saying about federal charges being issued. Let's get back into it.
So each face a count of interfering with a federally protected activity. In an interview last week, Chris claimed that he was just trying to defend his wife and daughter. The family claims Hernandez punched Paige twice, and Paige, they claim, pushed her to defend herself. Now, in a social media post earlier today, Hernandez, that's the reporter, thanked the Justice Department as well as the FBI for their work on this case. Also today, Hennepin County prosecutors announced an assault charge against the father in this case. They say they do not at this time have enough evidence to charge anyone else. Randy?
So, y'all, what do you guys think? Do you think that these folks should be charged for attacking that reporter? I'm going to put a poll in here real quick, okay? Should be charged? Yes. Let me know what you guys think. I think that's absolutely insane. And then saying, well, she hit me first. Where's the video footage? Where is it at? And social media, with that many people that was out there, I'm sure someone would have said, hey, well, no, it wasn't that, those people hit her. She was attacking them first. We would have seen several people come out with that perspective if that was the case. But, we're going to just sit back and we're going to see, what happens, okay? So next up, we have had several furloughs since October 1st. Hold on. We have Tom Duma saying, was a reporter Jewish? I honestly do not know if she was Jewish or not, to be honest with you. I don't know. We got Delonta here saying, good, thank you. We got James Ferris in the house. I'm doing good. Welcome to the check-in. What I was gonna say here is, okay, DHS funding bill. So as you guys know, we have had 3 furloughs since October 1st of 2025, and this last one has been right at 76 days. Okay, so let me put this a liar person in timeout. Okay, I got that done. Anyway, so the last one that's going on right now currently is like at day 76. So to my understanding, the House passed the bill and is now heading towards President Trump to go ahead and fund, DHS. So initially everybody was furloughed back in October 1st. Then they did a deal to keep things funded until like January. So then we had another furlough in January. They funded most of the government with the exception of certain parts of DHS. And so then they had until February the 14th to get that squared away. They did not. That's why we had this last furlough going on for 76 days. So a lot of people like TSA and all these other folks have not been getting paid. Now I do believe that Trump did figure out a way to get TSA folks paid through whatever avenue he had, but by and large, that organization, that entity has not been funded. So I'm glad to see that this is moving forward. Let's go ahead and see what they had to say on the topic. Let's get into it.
On breaking news, the House unanimously approved a Senate-passed bill to fund most of the Department of Homeland Security. This is a move that could soon end that 76-day shutdown that had real consequences in the lives of so many people. It'll now head to the president's desk. Here's House Speaker Mike Johnson speaking on this just moments ago. Forgive me, it was our understanding that we would have that. Now we're going to listen to him live.
The Trump administration, the president did that, and Democrats are upset about it. So they wanted to leave that out. They wanted to orphan these 2 critical agencies that are under the umbrella of Homeland Security. I remind everybody on the Hill all the time, the Department of Homeland Security is the 3rd largest department of the federal government. It has critical responsibilities. FEMA and the Secret Service and TSA and all these other agencies. But the Democrats said, we'll do some of that, but we're not going to fund border security and we're not going to fund immigration enforcement. That's absurd, and we threw a fit, and we had to. We held the Homeland bill, the underlying funding bill, because we had to ensure that they could not isolate and eliminate those 2 critical agencies. We are getting those done now. We passed the resolution first. That was critically important for us to do to ensure that we're going to protect the homeland, even though Democrats are unwilling to do it. So now that that box is checked, we're allowed then to proceed and go through with the rest of it. This will relieve pressure from the Department of Homeland Security. Secretary Mullen, who I've spoken to in the last couple of hours, will be greatly relieved. The President will, the administration will. We were not going to have lines at TSA. Everybody will get their paychecks now. We'll get moving forward, and then we will finish the work and finally get, again, for 3 years with no crazy Democrat reforms, we will fund Border Patrol and immigration enforcement as soon as we return for the work session when that bill is finalized.
On FISA, Mr. Speaker. On FISA, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
What do you anticipate from the Senate, and are you concerned that whatever the Senate sends over might be a problem over here?
I'm not concerned. I hope that they're going to do the right thing. Look, we sent over a reauthorization of that with minor reforms and with the anti-CBDC measure on it. These are very simple things that the vast majority of Congress agrees with, and they should get it done. They're running out of time. As you know, it will expire tonight, the end of today. And so we're calling on them to do the job, pass the House's bill, and get this done. Check the last box of the week.
They're not going to take the House bill, though.
Well, we're going to see. They don't seem to have another alternative. We'll find out how that works.
Speaker,
Yeah.
Mr. Speaker.
I don't know who you're quoting. Okay, so look, they often analogize legislating to making sausage. You don't want to see it made, and sometimes it's an ugly process. Sometimes it's a long process. I've never broken my word to a single person in this building. Nobody can tell you they can. There was a lot of emotion and frustration yesterday because sometimes when you have a small margin, as we do, we're currently working on a 1-vote razor-thin margin because of absences and the rest, and people have different ideas, different priorities about very contentious pieces of legislation. The equations that we solved on legislation this week were virtually impossible. Many of you said it couldn't be done. But we got it done because ultimately we just use patience and frankly prayer, and we get a lot of people together and we listen to their concerns and we try to get the disparate priorities handled. I've never asked a colleague in the Republican Party ever to violate a core principle, but sometimes we have to give up on our preferences because we are in a large body. On some of these bills, some of the ones that I just named for you, they're so complicated and so complex that you literally had irreconcilable demands on either side of the House Republican Conference. And so it takes a long time to work through that and get people to consensus. But we do that patiently, we do as we must, and we ultimately deliver. Don't doubt the House Republican majority. We always deliver for the American people. We did it again, in spite of the challenges, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you so much.
This is the third shutdown.
Said, don't doubt
Mike
the House
Johnson there
Republican
talking
majority.
after the news broke. The House has approved that bill to fund Homeland Security. It now goes over to the president's desk. Still some tidying up to do here, but we'll continue following that and let you know the full bloom of that story by the time your dinner time headlines air.
Okay, y'all. So we have some resolution coming forward in regards to funding the rest of the DHS. I cannot believe these folks have not been working since. Well, they haven't been paid consistently for like 76 days. So you heard what Speaker Johnson was saying, how I guess they didn't, they had to do, I guess, to get things moving forward. So yeah, that's what we have going on with that. Now, next up, we have Trump. He and the rest of us was very amazed and pleased with what happened to Artemis, with the astronauts who went, to the backside of the moon and everything. They went out there safely and came home safely. They went to the Oval Office today, well, I guess yesterday, and met with President Trump. And as part of that visit, Trump took questions from, the media. And of course, they had to ask about what's going on with Operation Epic Fury and other things. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get into that. Let's go.
Well, thank you very much. We have some people that have captivated the attention of the whole world, not just our country, the whole world. And they're very brave. And that was a lot of rocket under them. I never saw anything like that. We were talking about it. It's I don't know how they do it. I wouldn't want to do it, but it takes people like this to make our country great. And again, I've never seen anything. Everybody I knew, they wanted to see the launch, and they especially wanted to see a successful landing. And Jared, I want to congratulate you, what you've done at NASA. I made a great choice. And if you have any questions for any of us, feel free to ask, but we're very proud of these people. They have unbelievable courage, unbelievable. A lot of other things too, by the way. To get in there, you have to be very smart. You have to do a lot of things physically good. So I would have had no trouble making it, and physically very, very good. Maybe a little bit of a problem. I don't know, I'm sure. We'll have to try it sometime. Is a president allowed to go up in one of these missions?
We can get working on that, Mr. President.
We have no problem, right?
We'll launch more rockets. The opportunity.
We'll have to try it. Congratulations very much. And by the way, their families are over here, beautiful families, and they're in the Oval Office, and they walked in, they said, wow, the Oval Office. Everybody likes the Oval Office. So, any questions, please?
President. Thank you, Mr. President. First of all, it's a great honor to meet all of you. Congratulations, and welcome to the White House. I have had the privilege of interviewing Gene Cernan, the last man to walk on the moon.
Oh, good.
Is that what you would like to do? And Mr. President, do you think that will happen during your second term?
Well, we have a shot at it. I mean, we don't like to say definitely, because then you say, oh, we failed. Because I think we could say we're ahead of schedule. So we have a good shot. We've authorized it. And I think with this team and, with Jared's done such an amazing job at NASA, I think we have a good shot, right? We'll see.
Yes, Mr. President, we have an achievable plan now back to the moon, and we're back in the business of launching moon rockets with frequency. So we just sent Artemis 2 around the moon. We're going to launch Artemis 3 in 2027. We'll protect for up for 2 opportunities in 2028 to return astronauts to the surface of the moon.
I like space. I started Space Force, as you very well know. It's been very, very important. Then they tried to kill it. And actually, the military would not let the Biden administration kill it. They wanted to kill it. And it's going to turn out to be one of our most important things. I think it'll turn out to be one of the most important things they did. But we got involved with NASA bringing it back. And I was saying when I first looked at some of your facilities, they had grass growing on the runways right in between the cracks of the asphalt. And but not anymore. It's really strong. And what they do, one of the things they do that's so important is for our military offense and defense. And a lot of people say, well, is it worth it? It's really worth it, because what's happened militarily, you see what we're doing militarily, a lot of that comes from space. So it's been pretty great. Good question. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. I have two questions for you. First, on the topic of space, do you have an update on the UFO files and what might be, when we're going to be seeing those?
Well, I think we're going to be releasing as much as we can in the near future. For some reason, and I guess it's just a reason that's been in the minds of people for a long time, and that is such, they want to find out about the UFOs and anything having to do with UFO or related material, and we're going to be releasing a lot of things from that we have, and I think some of it's going to be very interesting to people. I've interviewed people, my first term primarily, but I interviewed some pilots, very solid people, and they said they saw things that you wouldn't believe. So you're going to be reading about it. Yes.
Sir, you spoke to Vladimir Putin not too long ago. Did you talk to him about
today?
Did you talk to him about the progress in the space area, and what else did you talk
I didn't talk about space. No, I talked about Ukraine, and I talked a little bit about Iran. I talked about a few different subjects, mostly about Ukraine, and we had a very good conversation. I think we're going to come up with a solution relatively quickly, I hope.
What does he want?
I think he'd like to see a solution, I can tell you, and that's good.
What involvement does he want to have in the Iran situation?
He told me he'd like to be involved with the enrichment if he can help us get it. I said I'd much rather have you be involved with ending the war with Ukraine. To me, that would be more important, because we're gonna have that. Look, we're not going to let Iran have a nuclear weapon, and we've knocked out their Navy, we've knocked out their Air Force, we've knocked out their anti-aircraft, everything, apparatus, everything they have, their radar, they have very little left, and they have some.
So, y'all, like I mentioned yesterday, he's saying that they're pretty much, Iran doesn't have anything. And I'm trying to figure out where's going to be the singer teller of truth regarding what they really have. The administration is saying one thing, and then Iran is saying something different, but like, where is the actual truth land? Because honestly, it could be a situation where, we may have been told, hey, they have 1,000 of these, but maybe they had 5,000. I don't know. As we're going to see when we look at Hegseth and his hearing, how a lot of the congressmen are asking, like, hey, what is the status of what the Americans have in their arsenal of weaponry? We've been using all of these different things, all these different assets to participate in this war, if you will. Like, what is our amount? What do we have in our stockpiles, right? So, of course, they're not going to tell you the exact numbers, right? It's going to be a little off-putting, throw people off, right? But anyway, we're going to go ahead and get back into this. First of all, if you're here, the 105 of you, please go ahead and like the live stream. Also, if you like the vibes, please subscribe, okay? Now, in the chat, we have Jaggerbush saying that we are laughing at the United States. Jaggerbush, where are you from? Just put the location. I'm just asking. We have Brawlden in the house saying Omar Swalwell 2028. We had Tammy Looney saying he brags too much about his lies. We have Pierre Powers saying Trump is the best president I've served under, and I served for a white, black, orange, and a KKK clown president. Okay, Pierre. Let's see. We have Brawlden saying worst tyranny ever when everything he does is challenged. And then we have Jacobus saying your freedoms are being taken away. Free speech will be gone soon in the USA. Pierre Powers says, I had to write that governor up there because kids kept fighting in National Harbor every night before he finally did something about it. Got you. As a matter of fact, just to get off topic a little bit, they had a lot of the kids just out and about in the Navy Yard area, and they did like a curfew for those folks last summer, I think, and I think going on now too. All right, let me get back to this video. Let's keep it going.
Missiles, a small percentage. They have a small percentage of missile-making facilities. We knocked out about 80% of them. The rest could come very quickly if we don't make a deal. They're not going to have a nuclear weapon. They know it, and just about everybody else does. And so we talked about that a little bit. He doesn't want to see them have a nuclear weapon either. But I had a long talk with President Putin. I suggested a little bit of a ceasefire, and I think he might do that. He might announce something having to do with it. Did he announce it yet?
No, but I was wondering, I was just going to ask you.
I asked him about, even if it's a little ceasefire, there's so many people being killed, it's so ridiculous.
Thank you, Mr. President. In light of today's Supreme Court ruling on the Voting Rights Act, do you want Republican states in the South to look at redrawing congressional districts before the midterms?
You have to tell me, when did the ruling come out? I've been with the astronauts. I've been with contractors because we're trying to get the ballroom built.
Yeah. That ballroom, y'all.
It's right on schedule. It's ahead of schedule now. I want to keep it that way. And I was also with commissioning some people, but one of, David Warrington's son. I don't know, you know David. Everybody knows David. He's got this incredible son. So he was just sworn in. So we had other things. Tell me about what happened.
Well, some think that the ruling could create more Republican-held congressional seats in the South.
That's good.
Yeah. Would you
That's the kind of ruling I like.
Would you want them to pursue
When did that
that?
happen?
Well, the Supreme Court ruled on it this morning.
Really? Is that right? Tell me about the ruling.
Well, I have a question.
This is CNN fake news.
On your call with President Putin today, do you think the war in Iran ends first or the war in Ukraine?
Well, we talked more about the war in Ukraine, but he would like to be of help. I said, before you help me, I want to end your war. So we had a good talk. I've known him a long time. I think he was ready to make a deal a while ago. I think some people made it difficult for him to make a deal, but we talked more about Ukraine.
But which war do you think ends first?
That's an interesting question. Coming from you, that's very interesting. Which war would end first? I don't know. Maybe they're on a similar timetable. I think Ukraine, militarily, they're defeated. Okay, you wouldn't know that by reading the fake news, but militarily, look, their Navy. So they had 159 ships. Every ship is right now underwater. Typically, that's pretty good. What do you think, Jared? I mean, it's going to be hard for them to make
underwater
a
is pretty
naval
good.
comeback. Okay, now they have an Air Force. Every one of their planes has been shot down or has been decimated. They have missiles, about 82% are gone, and they have drones, and most of them are gone. Most of the factories are mostly gone, and we have tremendous anti-drone equipment now, between lasers and that new, very special machine gun that knocks them out of the air like flies. And we use bullets instead of $1 million, missiles to knock out a $30,000 drone. So I would say Jared would tell me that with everything you just heard, typically we're in pretty good shape. And in addition, their economy is crashing. Their, as you know, their money, they call it their money, they don't have a name for it. Their money is valueless. They've got inflation that nobody's ever seen before. Other than that, I think they're doing quite well. If you read the New York Times, you'd say they're doing wonderfully because it's fake news. Or if you watch CNN, I mean, you cover it all the time. You think they're doing well. Do you think they're doing well where they have no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-aircraft apparatus, other than what they may have put there? They may have brought in some light stuff during the ceasefire, and we know exactly where it is, so it'll be knocked out within the first 15 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to go back to the Supreme Court ruling on the Voting Rights Act. I know you said you haven't seen it.
When did it come out? Just now?
No, it came out this morning, but basically very much narrows the Voting Rights Act.
Was it considered a win for
a win for Republicans?
I love it.
But my question...
This is a very good... We can end this conversation. I want to read it.
My question for you, Mr. President, is that some Republican governors have not responded in terms of what they're going to do. I guess early voting, for example, in Louisiana.
Republican governors what?
Republican governors.
What about it?
Early voting begins Saturday there, for instance. Should they redraw the map in the next couple of
months? I would. I mean, it depends. I mean, some states don't need to redraw, and some do. I mean, I know what the concept of the ruling. I just haven't seen the result. Yeah, I would say generally I would think that they would want to do it. Some are greatly helped and some, didn't make much difference. Yeah, I would say they would do that. They have time to do it. Yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wanted to ask you, there's a lot of drama on the House floor today
several bills were stalled, and a rule took 2 hours to pass today, and there's still some tension over the farm bill. Do you think that you need to get more involved legislatively on Capitol Hill?
Well, we want the farm bill. The Democrats don't. We want security, okay? We need security. We want security. The Democrats don't think we need security. They actually do, but they suffer greatly from Trump derangement syndrome, like at levels that nobody's ever seen. They're sick people. There's something wrong with them. They don't want to pay anybody for security. They don't like ICE. They don't like Border Patrol people. They don't like the people that keep us safe. You know, when they ran this, they let 25 million people into our country, and many of those people were from prisons. They were from mental institutions, drug dealers, murderers. 11,888 murders, half of whom committed more than one murder. They think that was fine. I happen to like law enforcement. They essentially want to defund law enforcement. And I don't think the public's going to let them get away with it. You know, we got it all approved in the great big beautiful bill, and they want to renegotiate. We don't like that. Yeah.
Mr. President, the King's speech that he made to Congress, he spoke strongly, forcefully about the necessity for a strong NATO alliance. He also spoke about the necessity to continue to support Ukraine. Did his speech in any way change your thinking on either of those issues?
Well, you have to understand, my thinking is, I think, exactly correct, but I was very disappointed with the fact that when we called on them to give us a little hand, we didn't need it. I actually did it just to see whether or not they'd be there. When we called on NATO to give us a hand with Ukraine, and in particular the most recent, you know, we asked them to do certain things on Ukraine, and we also wanted them to do things with Iran. And on Ukraine, they're very much involved, but they didn't do things the way we would like to see it. You know, it's been going on for a long time. And on Iran, they weren't there. As you know it better than anybody. They weren't there. The King is fantastic. We spent a lot of time together. We had a lot of talk. We talked about this also. And he loves his country, and he's a great king, and he's a great friend of mine. And I think if he were doing that, if that were up to him, he would have probably helped us with Iran. He would have followed the suggestions we made with respect to Ukraine, because, you know, we have some disagreements on Ukraine, and not having to do with NATO so much as European countries. But no, he's coming back tomorrow. We had an incredible evening last night, and he's leaving tomorrow. He's going to come back and see us before he leaves, and But I think he's a phenomenal representative for his country. I think the people in the United Kingdom should be proud. I loved his speech yesterday. I watched it. I loved the speech last night. I don't know about my speech. I thought my speech was okay too, but I thought he was. I think he's an unbelievable king, and by the way, an unbelievable queen. They are a great couple.
This morning, we were talking about how busy you were this morning. James Comey was in court. He self-surrendered. He's now in charge a second time. This time over a social media post with seashells that said 8647. Do you really think that he was endangering your life or threatening your life with that?
Well, if anybody knows anything about crime, they know 86. You know what 86? It's a mob term for kill him. You know, you ever see the movies? 86 him.
So yeah, we talked about this yesterday. We remember James Comey got indicted for a second time, turned himself in yesterday, and so now Trump is explaining to us what 86 means to him, because the gentleman posted a video that had 8647 written in seashells in the sand. So let's get back into it.
The mobster says to one of his wonderful associates, 86 him. That means kill him. It's, I think of it as a mob term. I don't know, people think of it as something having to do with disappearing, but the mob uses that term to say when they want to kill somebody, they say 86, the son of a gun. I'm trying to keep the language nice and clear. They don't use that term, son of a gun. They use another term. But that's a mob term for kill him, yeah.
But do you really think your life was in danger?
Probably, I don't know. You know, based on what I'm seeing out there, yeah. The people like Comey have created tremendous danger, I think, for politicians and others. Comey is a dirty cop. He's a very dirty cop. He cheated on the elections. He tried to help Hillary Clinton, as you know. He dismissed a lot of things that he should have proceeded with. I wasn't involved, but he should have proceeded with. No, he's a dirty cop. He's a crooked man, yeah.
Mr. President, you just described there's been a disagreement between the U.S. and Keir Starmer on support for Iran. Did your visit with the king smooth that over or create any more?
My visit with the king really was it was extraordinary. I mean, he's an extraordinary man.
Okay, y'all. So I didn't show you guys the whole thing. It was about, I think, 30 minutes. So I gave you a good smattering of how that went. Okay. So we have Bor Ableist here. He says Trump is a legend. We got Jeffrey Marshall saying he can't name one movie where they said that. He's talking about that 86, I'm sure. We have Jagger Bush saying Trump and MAGA equals cult. We have David Danny Look saying the power of Trump compels you. The power of Trump compels you. Okay. He's saying that 4 or 5 times. We have the Global Assembly saying this is a great show in Trump's words. Okay. Larry Pittsburgh says I may play 8647 on the lottery. Well, I hope you win something. Okay. 8647. All right, so we have so Jagger Bush. Let me know if you're still here. If you're hearing similar information from your Estonian and German independent news sources, I'm just kind of curious to see how things are communicated across, the waters, if that makes sense. But yes, y'all. Let's see what we got next. All right, so I mentioned to you guys that Hegseth had a day 2 of his hearing with the committees, okay? And we saw some clips from yesterday, okay? So they did not disappoint today either, okay? So we're going to start off with his opening remarks, and then we're going to go from there, okay? Let's check that out. Comment if you like in the comments, okay? Let's keep it going.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Ranking Member Reed, Senators, thank you for the opportunity to testify in support of President Trump's historic, as you said, Mr. Chairman, $1.5 trillion fiscal year 2027 budget for the Department of War. The President's budget request reflects the urgency of the moment, addressing both the deferment of long-standing problems as well as positioning our forces for the current and future fights. I'm honored to appear alongside General Dan Kane, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and Jay Hurst, our Chief Financial Officer and Comptroller. I'd like to start by thanking this committee and Congress for your partnership in securing the investment needed for a stronger, prouder, and more secure military. Your focus on acquisitions, your focus on efficiency are the reflection in our department as well and in this budget. A nation's ability to build, to innovate, and to support the critical needs of its warfighters at speed and at scale is the foundation upon which its deterrence and survival rests. However, upon taking office on January 20th, 2025, President Trump inherited a defense industrial base that had been hollowed out by years of America Last policies, resulting in a diminished capacity to project strength. Under the previous administration, we were offshoring, outsourcing, beset by cost overruns and degraded capabilities. But under the leadership of President Trump, our builder-in-chief, we are reversing this systemic decay and putting our defense industrial base back on a wartime footing. Urgency informs everything we do. We're rebuilding a military that the American people can be proud of, one that instills nothing less than unrelenting fear in our adversaries and inspires historic morale and recruiting in its ranks. We fight to win in every scenario. The $1.5 trillion budget put forward by the President will build upon a previous $1 trillion FY26 top line and will continue to reverse the 4 years of underinvestment and mismanagement of the Biden administration. The $1.5 trillion budget will ensure that the United States continues to maintain the world's most powerful and capable military as we grapple with a complex threat environment across multiple theaters. Not to mention, the budget also includes a historic troop pay increase, 7% for junior enlisted, and the budget eliminates all poor or failing barracks. Quality of life for our troops is front and center in this budget. By supercharging our defense industrial capacity and transforming how the department does business, we are restoring American commercial dominance at a pace unseen in generations, transforming the defense industrial base from the broken, slow-moving systems of the past. We have flipped the Pentagon acquisition process from a bureaucratic model to a business model, decisively moving from an acquisitions environment paralyzed by bureaucratic red tape into an outcomes-driven organization focused on delivering the most for taxpayer dollars. Over the past year, through historic multi-year procurement agreements that this committee supported, we've cut smart business deals that have sent unambiguous demand signals to industry to build more and build faster. The result has been a surge, a revitalization of our great American factories and a massive reinvestment in the skilled American workers who serve as the industrial muscle behind our warriors.
You're a war criminal. You should be arrested. What you're doing is despicable. The American people do not want to go to this war. We don't want to fight a war for any people. It's about the status.
Further interruptions of our hearing will be treated in like manner. We appreciate the First Amendment rights of Americans to express themselves, but disruption of this hearing will not be tolerated. So, Mr. Secretary, you may continue.
I'll briefly provide some concrete high-level metrics of what we've accomplished over just the past few months. These are announced new facilities and investments to support American warfighters. The department has helped stimulate more than 250 private investment deals in 39 states, 180 cities, in 150 companies worth more than $50 billion. It's resulted in 280 new or expanded facilities, more than 18 million new square feet of American manufacturing, and more than 70,000 new jobs. These $50 billion in investments in new plants, new assembly lines, and new factories are private investments, not taxpayer dollars. By completely transforming our department's business model, American companies are investing in America with their own dollars, a historic demonstration of American manufacturing and defense revitalization, all with their money, not Uncle Sam's. This has never been done before and is long overdue, from a bureaucratic model to a business model. These investments equal great things for America, for American families, and American workers, to ensure that our warfighters have everything they need, all American made. Together with the help of the policy updates and appropriations passed by Congress, President Trump's War Department has begun to turn the lights back on in our manufacturing towns across this country, forging a lethal arsenal of freedom. Every policy we pursue, every budgetary item we request serves to ensure that this department remains laser-focused on increasing lethality and survivability from the front lines to the factory floor. This is a historic budget, as you said, Mr. Chairman. This is a fiscally responsible budget, and this is a warfighting budget. Speaking of warfighting, the topic of Iran, I'm sure, will come up often today, which I welcome. I look forward to sharing the incredible success of our military effort achieved in a matter of weeks. President Trump has the courage, has had, unlike other presidents, to ensure that Iran never gets a nuclear weapon and that their nuclear blackmail never succeeds. We have the best negotiator in the world driving a great deal. Unfortunately, as I said yesterday, and I'll say it again today, the biggest adversary we face at this point are the reckless naysayers and defeatist words of congressional Democrats and some Republicans. Defeatists from the cheap seats who 2 months in seek to undermine the incredible efforts that have been undertaken and the historic nature of taking on a 47-year threat with the courage no other president has had, to great success and great opportunity for preventing Iran from having a nuclear weapon. Despite this, under President Trump, we are restoring the unbreakable might of American manufacturing. We're providing for our warfighters, and we are putting the people and interests of this country first. May Almighty God continue to watch over our troops wherever they are, and may we honor the legacy of those brave Americans that we have lost. This is our sacred mission, and this is what we will continue to execute on. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for that statement.
Okay, let me see what you guys are saying here in the chat. So we have Jeffrey Marshall saying, I'm so confused about why they never questioned him about the millions they spent on crab and lobster dinners, among other things. I didn't know anything about this crab and lobster dinner. We got the Global Assembly saying, finally, somebody with some sense just shouted. That's when the person called him a criminal. Okay. Then we have Rusty Night Gaming saying, all this money is going to be worthless in the coming crash. U.S. debt is now bigger than the GDP. We got Paul Graves saying, another arrogant lying Trump robot. Okay. Let's see. We have the Global Assembly saying, keywords, business model. Okay, y'all, we're going to take a quick little shift. I want to show you guys a Truth Social post that Trump put out today. Let me get it up there for you guys. And it's about cognitive exam, okay? So let me read you what it says. It says anybody running for president or vice president should be forced to take a cognitive examination prior to entering the race. By doing so, we wouldn't be surprised at people like Barack Hussein Obama or Sleepy Joe Biden getting elected. Our country would be a much better place. I took the exam 3 times during my 3 terms as president and aced it all 3 times. An achievement that, even on a single exam, according to the doctors, has rarely been done before. President Donald J. Trump. Y'all, why is he so concerned about this cognitive exam? Did they not have Obama or Biden take one of these? But he's very proud that he took it 3 times. And I'm pretty sure it's been 2 terms, right? But anyway, y'all, that is what he put today at 1:50 p.m. today. And we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna shift gears back to the hearing with Hegseth. Wanted to kind of break that up a little bit. All right. Let me see some. We have Lunard in this chat saying defense spending, but the steak and lobster headlines. Okay, let me go back here to his other post first. He says to Jeffrey Marshall, it happens because military budgets often have a use it or lose it pressure near the end of the fiscal year. So spending surges in September. It's fairly common across defense spending, but the steak and lobster headlines are just a small attention grabbing part of a much larger year-end spending rush. Okay. Then we have Mux Rod saying it's 3 times fake ballots. Okay, y'all. Let's go ahead and get back to the Hegseth hearings. And this particular video talks about the war being stuck. Let's get into it. Okay.
Senator Kelly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, thank you for being here. Secretary Hegseth, safe to say that our weapons like SM-3s, Tomahawks, Patriot missiles have capabilities that are unmatched. That's why they cost a lot, take a long time to produce. Your budget requests $31.8 billion to expand production capacity for critical missile stockpiles. Is that correct? 31.8?
I'm looking at $53 billion for munitions acceleration over 14 critical munitions, of which the ones you listed are a part.
Okay,
so
53.
I believe more than that. Yes, sir.
More than 20 billion more. So we've been working together to grow the industrial base because we're all worried about how our stockpiles would hold up in a conflict against China. Since the start of this war, you've made it a point to highlight the number of strikes the U.S. military is carrying out, citing that more than 13,000 targets had been struck as of April 8th. On March 2nd, you said, and this is a quote, this was a massive, overwhelming attack across all domains of warfare, striking more than 1,000 targets in the first 24 hours. On March 10th, you said, yet again, our most intense day of strikes inside of Iran. On April 6th, you said, and this is another quote, the largest volume of strikes since day 1 of this operation. Your department has released video after video of things blowing up. None of us doubt the strength of the U.S. military and their ability to do hard things. I understand that better than anybody. The questions we should be asking and answering are, what does this cost us and what does it achieve for the American people? Many of these strikes use our best weapons, and we're using a lot of them and a lot of interceptors. Open source reporting has estimated that the military has used an outrageous number of Patriots. I'm not even going to say the numbers, but a lot of Patriots, a lot of THAAD rounds, JASSM-ER, Tomahawks, very expensive, exquisite. We can't make these munitions overnight, and it's clear from your budget request that you know that. Can you tell us how many years specifically is it going to take to replace these systems?
Senator, thank you for the question. I would defer to the comptroller on the amount because I think it's a lot higher than 53. If you look at long-range fires, JASSMs, LRASMs, Tomahawks, we're looking at 238 billion.
Okay,
we're
a
looking
lot.
at 40 billion for hypersonic. So I actually think it's closer to 330 billion in munitions.
Okay, how many
ultimately-
years to replenish? That's the question.
I think that's exactly the right question, too, Senator, because the time frame we were existing under was unacceptable.
Okay, well,
and what
tell
this
me-
budget does, months and years, fast.
years?
I mean, we're building new plants in real time.
So
that
just to
will
replace what we have
2x,
expended.
I said months.
And then you said years.
Both, it depends on the weapon system, but 2 to 3, 4x of what we have today. So
Okay.
yes, we're dealing with a reality under the previous administration of what they sent to Ukraine and what they allocated elsewhere.
Okay, I got it. So
And
we
we're
fired
rapidly doing
years
it quickly.
worth of munitions. And it is clear that these are being expended to try to achieve some objectives. That was the plan. But, Mr. Secretary, this war is stuck. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The Iranian regime is in place. The nuclear material still in their hands. Americans are being crushed by higher costs. And it's not clear to them at all what the goal of this war is. So, I've got about a minute, and I want to go to another topic. I saw your hearing yesterday, and I'm going to give you one more chance to address a question here. It's my understanding that the definition of no quarter is that legitimate offers of surrender will be refused or that detainees will be executed. Is that your understanding of the definition?
The only entity that would kill detainees or target civilians is the Iranians, and they're the ones being crushed.
So
It's the
you-
Iranian military and their military capabilities.
The question is,
I disagree
understand-
completely with your articulation.
No, do you understand the definition that I just read you? Because that's the definition from your department's law of war manual. Is that your understanding? And I'm gonna just get to the point here.
We fight to win and we follow the law, Senator.
Okay, so your quote was, "We will keep pushing, keep advancing, no quarter, no mercy for our enemies." And yesterday, you did not clarify whether you stand by this statement. So I'm going to give you another opportunity to clarify if that is what you meant. Do you stand by that statement you made on March 13th?
We have untied the hands of our warfighters. We fight to win, and we follow the law.
Okay, so you're not clarifying. So you stand by that statement. So you're the Secretary of Defense. The things you say matter. And your response here, right now, makes it clear to the American people exactly why you are not right for this
It makes
job.
it clear to our enemies, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Okay, y'all. So what y'all thought about that? I guess we have the Global Assembly saying, in other words, this man is stating facts. All the other stuff is jibber jabber from Mr. Hugspeth. Okay. Then we have Trevor Johnson saying all barons are doing great. Okay. We have Fernando saying stop spending our money to this senseless war. Make peace, not wars. Negotiations toward peace from Vietnam era veterans USMC. Gotcha. Okay. We have Jason Beatrice saying, I can't watch this traitor astronaut B. I'm not sure if Jason is on the same, if he's like watching live or he may be delayed. I'm not sure what he's referring to. And I don't think he came back with an answer yet, but that's fine. Okay, so we got that taken care of here. Where they're talking about the war and uh, being stuck, and they had concerns about the stockpiles and whatnot. So let's go ahead on and go to the next video where the next senator is also talking about the war not being in a good place. Okay, let's get into it.
I don't know if he considered that a compliment or an insult, but I would do correct that for the record. Senator Slotkin, I think you were next.
Thank you. Gentlemen, you're here to ask for $1.5 trillion, 40% more than what we gave you last year, $1 trillion. And I agree with the chairman of this committee that the world has never been more dangerous and complicated. And regardless of whether we disagree on the reasons for getting into this war, I think we can all agree that we want our military to come out of it safely and successfully and as soon as feasible. The military has taken, the administration has taken military action in 10 different places in the world in 15 months, more than any president in US history. I think President Trump has really become a foreign policy president. And many of those operations, were on the news for a couple of days, but then the American public didn't feel them. And I think the difference with this war with Iran is that the American public is feeling it in their pocketbooks. Gas in Michigan is $4.99 today. The cost of fertilizer, of airline tickets, things that are real to people. Secretary Hegseth, the president said that you were most keen on this war. He said that you were the most gung-ho about it. I think despite us all wanting to come out of this successfully, it is hard to miss that we are at the stalemate, that we don't control the Strait of Hormuz because shipping is not getting through. And we can block what they're trying to get through, but nothing is moving and it's costing the American public. And I think that's a fundamentally different moment than the rest of the military action we've taken. Even in Middle East 101 class, we used to talk about and run war games on the Strait of Hormuz. It's a strategic geography that the Iranians have. And I think it's just concerning to me that we can try and tell the American people that it's going great and we're killing it, but until the Strait of Hormuz is open, I don't think we can credibly say that with any seriousness. I think the question I have for you, though, is future looking, and it's our 2026 elections. The president has been very clear. He said in the State of the Union that essentially if his side doesn't win, then the election was rigged. He said that before the 2020 election. He's asked for voter rolls for 29 different states. He just asked for Detroit's votes or ballots. And we know that in 2020, he wrote an executive order that he didn't sign that said to the US military, to the Secretary of Defense, you should go and seize ballots and voting machines. A few months ago, he said that he regretted that he didn't sign that executive order. So the US military has never been deployed. You incorrectly said yesterday that they were deployed during different elections. Governors deployed them under their authorities, but the federal government has never put the uniformed military at our polls during World War II, right after 9/11. We've never had to do that. So Secretary Hegseth, if the president, who regrets not signing that executive order to the then SecDef in 2020, asks you to seize ballots or voting machines in states during the 2026 election, will you stand up for the Constitution and say no, or will you salute and do his bidding?
Senator, I didn't get a chance to answer the front part of your question, which, there was a lot of deferred maintenance under the Biden administration that needed to be addressed because the world was in chaos when President Trump was elected.
Address the election issue,
please.
please.
Well, again, that's
It's the most important thing. It's what's happening.
It's yet another gotcha hypothetical, which is your specialty.
It's not. We had
and
an executive order
under the Biden administration in
predecessor had to
2024.
hold. It's not a hypothetical. I refuse to accept. You give that answer all the time. You and I have done this dance before. Get over it, okay? In 2020, he's the president, your boss, the guy you're performing for right now, told the journalists this year that he wished he signed that executive order to your predecessor. And your predecessor said publicly, thank God, we didn't actually go forward with it. What are you going to do? You're the guy here in the seat. It's not hypothetical. Tell the American people, will you deploy the uniformed military to our polls to collect voter rolls or machines?
Are you accusing me of performing? Because you're performing for cable news right now.
But
just
Mr.
answer the
Secretary,
question.
we have.
It's a hypothetical. By the way, in 2024, under the Biden administration, 15 states did deploy.
Under
troops to
their
polling
governor's
stations.
authority, when their governors asked
What
for
did Joe
it.
Biden say about that?
That's fundamentally, I don't think anything, because he needed them for cybersecurity and for COVID. Trump did it too, under Trump. But it was not the federal decision. It was those governors of the states under their authorities, okay? It's never been done in our history. Please stand up for the Constitution. Do not send uniformed military to our polls.
Do you have a response to that portion of the question, Mr. Secretary?
I've never been ordered to do anything illegal, and I won't. That goes without saying.
Thank you for the answer. Senator Duckworth, you're now.
I tell you what, y'all, I wasn't aware that they were even considering having uniformed military people at the voting polls. Had y'all heard about that? From the poll we just did, I said, should uniformed military be at the voting polls? 31% said yes, 63% said no, and then 6% said, why would they be there? Yep. We had Jeffrey Marshall saying they never answer a question directly. That's what I'm learning. I've never watched a lot of these hearings until as of late, and it's like a dance, as she called it. They really dance around the question, and it's a lot of rhetoric, as they call it as well. So yeah, I'm with you 100% on that. Then we have Monte Cristo comes out saying, why do Republicans ask dumb questions? I don't even know who these people are that are asking. They just say Senator such and such. They never say what their party is. So I don't even take the time to go look it up, to be honest with you. But yeah, I don't know. Let's see. I know this one lady said they kind of bring questions that their constituents have asked them about. That's kind of how they use this time when they're in the public eye. But I mean, I'm just putting it out there to you. Now, what else do we have here? We have another video where Hegseth is going back and forth with the senator named Gillibard. So let's get into that, y'all. He was doing this hearing for like multiple hours. Okay, I don't know how he has the stamina to have to be on and do this level of communication. I would be tapped out after about an hour or two. Let's keep it going.
Before this committee, and thank you for the closed session prior to this. I don't know if you fully appreciate how much the American people do not support this war. It is an unauthorized war. Normally, when you come to Congress, it's a way for the American people to be part of that discussion. The American people, particularly in my state of New York, are upset for a lot of reasons. First of all, this war is costing so much money. Over $25 billion already, estimates $1 billion a day, and they're feeling it every single day at the gas pump with higher prices for both fuel, for diesel, for gasoline for their cars. They're also feeling it with higher grocery costs, and they're exhausted. They are truly exhausted. On top of that, they have so many grave concerns about how this war is being prosecuted. They read in the paper that 22 schools have been hit. They read in the paper about a girls' school, hundreds getting killed. We have a debate going on in this country about AI, a serious debate about AI. And I haven't heard yet from you that you will not allow AI to make final targeting determinations, even when nuclear weapons are being used. That's a huge issue that we need to discuss. So I want to start from the top, Secretary Hegseth. Why do you continue to prosecute a war that the American people aren't behind?
First of all, I appreciate the opportunity for that closed session where we had a, unsurprisingly, very different discussion than we have here with the cameras on. We support this.
Because my job is to represent New Yorkers, and I can tell you, when I talk to them all across my state, they are furious, and they expect me to explain to them why they are furious.
So let me just say this. He kind of put her on blast a little bit. You catch that, T? He was like basically saying they talked off camera and had a very different conversation. But now that they're on camera, you know, she's presenting differently. That's what I took from what he just said. Okay? Let's keep it going.
And Senator, when I talk to Americans, and especially when I talk to the troops, they are grateful for a president who has the courage to take on this threat after 47 years of what Iran has done, targeting and killing Americans, and what it would mean to the world if Iran's nuclear ambitions were actually achieved. So the question I would ask to you and to others is, what is the cost of a nuclear-armed Iran? What is the cost to the American people if the world's most dangerous regime has a nuclear weapon?
But the truth is, they don't want war coming to this shore. And when you do a decapitation operation, the likelihood is going to be exchanged in the United States. There's no evidence that we are safer because of this war. We did not have any evidence that Iran intended to imminently attack this country in any way, shape, or form. So I disagree with your assessment that we are under threat.
Do you not believe them when they say death to America?
Listen, our adversaries use rhetoric all the time. What I'm concerned about is we are not safer, and I would just like to know why you have not sought the support of the American people, and 3 out of 5 Americans are against this war today.
I believe we do have the support of the American people, and we have briefed regularly what this mission looks like and why it's critically important that we undertake it. And I would remind you and this group.
I will say that they do provide briefings regularly. Between him, General Kane, President Trump, Caroline Leavitt, I mean, they have provided some level of information on a consistent basis. I will give him that. Okay, let's keep it going.
That we're 2 months in to an effort. And many congressional Democrats, as I pointed out, want to declare defeat 2 months in. Iraq took how many years? Afghanistan took how many years? And they were nebulous missions that people went along with. This is different. This is a defined mission set that we have had great success in pursuing against a determined enemy who seeks nuclear weapons. And I'm proud of the opportunity to remind the American people, because they believe in it as well, that they can't have it.
You don't care when
the American people the American people are quite smart. They understand and see through spin. They know that a regime that says death to America, that seeks nuclear weapons and the ability to deliver. Did they lie about the range of their missiles?
How much more?
Because I saw a 4,000 kilometer missile.
How much more will you ask the American people to pay for this war?
Diego
right
Garcia.
Now, do you want it $1 billion a day? Do you want it $2 billion a day? You're asking for $200 billion more to fund this war and to make sure we have.
We didn't ask for $200 billion. I don't know where you got that number from, Senator. I think you got it from the news, which you should be careful what you read in the news.
Okay, Mr. Hegseth, Secretary Hegseth, here's a few more. Let's talk about how you're prosecuting the war. What is your response to targeting that has resulted in the destruction of schools, hospitals, civilian places? Why did you cut by 90% the division that's supposed to help you not target civilians? And do you know the impact of a strategic failure at a war when you have so many civilian casualties? You may have tactically completed a mission well, but strategically is not meeting your goals because of the harms to civilians. What is the cost of that?
Let's leave time for an answer.
No military, no country works harder at every echelon to ensure they protect civilian lives than the United States military. And that is a ironclad commitment that we make, no matter what systems we use.
And why did you cut the department by 90%?
Thank you, Senator Gillibrand. There'll be other rounds of questions. Senator Rounds, you are now recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, thank you to all of you for your service to our country. I'll allow you to finish the answer a little bit with regard to the senator from New York. Does the United States military ever target a civilian center?
Well, thank you, Senator. Unlike our adversaries, unlike radical Islamists, unlike those that target civilians or use civilians as shields, the United States military never targets civilians and puts constructs in place to ensure that the maximum extent possible, we do not harm or hit civilians. Is war a difficult place with a lot of complexities? Absolutely right. But no country does more and no department does more than our department.
Do you still have all of the resources necessary to assure that every opportunity to eliminate that as a threat in terms of that happening, do we still have the resources available in the department to make sure that we do the best we can?
Okay, y'all. So we heard that clip. I still don't know which department was cut by 90%. That's supposed to help them not attack civilian entities when they're in the war environment. But I'll figure it out eventually. We have Lunard. I cannot say this name. Okay. First of all, if you're still here, 143 of you, please go ahead and like the live stream. And if you like the vibes, please subscribe. We do this 3 days a week at the minimum, okay? Support your girl. Now we have Lunard Cyprian Rose 333 saying the brass is not like his quote unquote shaking up of many things, but that require, let me repeat that. The brass is not like his shaking up of many things that require them to learn how to do their jobs better. The majority of the enlisted love it. Okay. We got Shore 3704 saying you weren't being when you clean got $650 trillion. I'm trying to figure out who got that much money, okay? Then we got Fernando saying this war is illegal and also not approved by U.S. Congress, and therefore it's a violation of our Constitution, etc. My understanding is that come 1 May, if they don't end the war, they have to like get permission or go before Congress, is my understanding. But I think Hegseth was saying that his understanding is that since they're in a ceasefire, that the clock has stopped ticking when it comes to that deadline for when they have to provide that information before Congress, if that makes sense. Okay, so we have Jeffrey Marshall saying only an idiot would fire his smartest people and then go to war. It makes no sense. What does these days? Okay. Yes, Mr. Lou, you know it. Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for the reminder. Okay, y'all. So we have one more video in regards to this whole hearing, okay? But I got more after that, okay? And this video pertains to the use of AI. You may remember there was a company called, I think, Entropic that Hegseth and company said, you know what, we're not doing any business with them anymore. They want to use their AI to participate in war efforts and not have any humans making the decisions about attacking others, okay? So someone is asking him about this AI and war decisions, okay? Let's get into it.
General, and I continue to look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Senator Duckworth. Senator Rosen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Ranking Member Reed. Thank you, General, for your service. Before I begin my questions for Secretary Hegseth, I have one brief, important question for General Kane. General, as you've acknowledged at your confirmation hearing, service members who served at locations which another U.S. government agency deems contaminated, like the Nevada Test and Training Range, should have the same presumption of radiation exposure as DOE employees who served alongside them. But we also must ensure that DoD provides the VA with the records proving that these individuals served there. So this is a problem that DoD has the power to solve. I know we've discussed this. So General Kane, will you commit to ensuring parity for DoD personnel who served in locations that the U.S. government has already deemed contaminated, identifying those who served in such locations, and providing documentation of that service to the VA so that they can receive the veterans benefits that they have earned?
You bet, ma'am. And I'm, since our last time together on this, we've continued to chip away at removing or figuring out how to get past that one particular blocking in that record so that data flows normally. And I'm committed to trying to solve that for those leaders and teammates who are out there at that site.
Thank you. We'll look forward to continue to work with you on that. So Secretary Hegseth, I want to talk a little bit about AI. Because, of course, our service members deserve every advantage we can give them. So I just want you to help me understand this. In February, on the eve of Operation Epic Fury, you publicly designated Anthropic as a supply chain risk. However, this week, it's been reported that the White House is now helping agencies get around this decision to access Anthropic's technology. So the administration cannot credibly make both claims simultaneously. So before I ask you about the inconsistency, I just want you to reconfirm what it is you plan to use this technology for. It's been publicly reported that the decision to label Anthropic a national security risk was influenced by your personal and very public contract dispute with Anthropic when the company said that its technology could not be used for fully autonomous weapons targeting or mass surveillance of Americans. So following up on your response to Senator Rounds earlier, can you confirm whether or not there will always be a human in the loop when AI is used for lethal targeting decisions?
Well, first of all, on Anthropic, they would not agree to our terms of service. That would be like Boeing giving us airplanes and telling us who we can shoot at.
This is not. So this is not just about Anthropic, though. This is.
I just want to be clear. And also, Anthropic is run by an ideological lunatic who shouldn't have
But that's not my question. My question is AI
decision making
writ large.
over what we do.
Writ large.
We follow the law,
Should
Senator.
AI? Will you confirm? You said this to Senator Rounds earlier, so I'm just asking for you to.
We
recommit.
follow the law, but we don't have to sign a different terms of agreement with Anthropic.
This is not the question. This is not about Anthropic. This was just an example. I want you to confirm that whether or not there will always be a human in the loop when AI is used in a kill chain for lethal targeting decisions. Will there always be a human in a loop, or will AI make the decision? You said this to. What?
We follow the law and humans make decisions.
So you will confirm what you said to Senator Rounds, that a human will always be in the loop when AI is used.
Which is why that's part of our terms of service anyway.
You know,
it's how we operate.
All I want to say is this. There is a DOD directive, 3000.09, which mandates that autonomous and semi-autonomous weapon systems be designed to allow commanders and operators to exercise appropriate levels of human judgment over use of force. That is in the DOD.
That's why we follow the law, Senator.
So the answer is yes, Mr. Secretary.
The answer is we follow the law. Absolutely.
I think this is more important than following the law. I think that people want to know that AI isn't going to make lethal decisions, and it's critically important.
AI is not making lethal decisions.
That's what we want to hear. We're going to follow on that one. I have just a few seconds left, but you keep doubling down on this phrase, Mr. Secretary. You compare journalists, you compare us, you compare so many to Pharisees. Pharisees. It's a problematic and historically weaponized term that casts Jewish communities as hypocritical or morally corrupt. You doubled down again and said it. Words matter. Words matter. What you choose to say, how we choose to say it. How do you justify using this language as Secretary of Defense? Words matter. It's a historically hurtful term. Why do you continue to use it? And what actions are you taking to prevent rhetoric like this from permeating throughout the department that is going to target specific groups or individuals of people based on their religion?
Senator, I feel like it's a pretty accurate term for folks who don't see the plank in their own eye and always want to see what's wrong with an operation as opposed to the historic success of preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. So I stand by it.
You stand by calling people Pharisees. Sir, I cannot stand for that. That is wrong. It is not respectful to people. And I expect anyone who is in leadership in our country to be respectful and use respectful terms and not be an anti-Semite.
Thank you, Senator Rosen. The chair and the ranking member have no second round questions. I'm told by Senator Kelly that he would like to ask a second question.
Yeah, Mr. Secretary, so $1.5 trillion, 1.5 is a very round number. You know, if you were putting together a budget, you'd come up with, these are the problems we're trying to solve. This is the capability we need. These are the systems we have to buy.
Okay. So I guess that one is done. That's a great question, Mr. Jeffrey Marshall. He says, what is the use of these hearings when you can't ever get a straight answer? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've noticed that when I listen to um the hearings that Pam Bondi and Christy Nome did, um, it was a lot of the dancing, as they call it. But regarding Senator Rosen here, I thought it was a good question she asked about the AI. And I know we have Lunar, oh Lord, he told me how to say it. Lunar Druid saying AI is not making lethal decisions, but AI can be implemented or utilized after a human determines the decision is acceptable. I think the reason why she asked the question is because of the whole situation with Anthropic. Anthropic refused to allow the United States military to have access to their technology if they were going to not have a human be involved with those lethal decisions, target decisions. That was what the whole issue was about, to my recollection. But yeah, so once that fell through, they prevented, you know, the rest of the Department of Defense from being able to use those people's technology, is what I recall. But I don't know what they have going on, but that's what I remember hearing about a few months ago. Which I think that's why she asked her question, because she brought up Anthropic in her questioning. Then we have Left Paul saying only really super ignorant people believe artificial intel. Okay. So that's what we have so far in regards to that. There was a good comment that Luna Jewett made saying, well, he says, unpopular opinion. If Congress just authorized compensation for the billions of valued equipment in Afghanistan, that would help with the financial stuff, okay? Now, before we move forward, I want to show you guys a post that Trump made on Truth Social regarding Hakeem Jeffries, okay? So hopefully you guys can see it. I may need to play around and make it bigger for you guys, but I think you guys can see it. I'm gonna read it to you. It says, let me see something real fast because I want it to be, well, no, that's not good. No. Okay, that's better. All right. So it says, okay, Hakeem Jeffries just called the Supreme Court of the United States an illegitimate court. This is a low IQ individual who should not be allowed to talk that way about one of the greatest institutions anywhere in the world. He should withdraw the statement immediately. President Donald J. Trump. Now, I don't know if you guys know, if you've been around here, we talked a few weeks ago about this whole low IQ rhetoric. And apparently, Hakeem Jeffries had made a statement publicly in regards to Trump's remarks to him about being low IQ. And Jeffries was stating that Trump was probably the lowest IQ president of all time. Just to paraphrase. So this low IQ situation has been like a back and forth between the two of them for some time now, okay? Okay, so we have Luna Druid saying, why give a straight answer when historically recently they're going to clip it out of context and promote an agenda? Sadly, ambiguity has become necessary to communicate and protect yourself. Got you. And I asked you guys, should a human be involved in using AI for lethal targeting decisions? I got 56% said yes and 44% said no. We have Jeffrey Marshall giving us a statement saying, if my kid came to me for some money and can't tell me what the money is for, they would leave without the money. That's how my dad operates too. But yes, my dad operates just the same. All right, so we are going to hold on one second. I'm sorry, y'all. Okay, so next we're going to take a look at Operation Epic Fury in the sense of the Iranian leader resurfacing. So let's see what he had to say. Let's get into it.
Now to Operation Epic Fury. The head of U.S. Central Command is set to go to the White House later today. He'll be meeting with President Trump and the national security team. Among the issues in the briefing, the U.S. blockade of Iranian ports. Brian Yanis, live in Tel Aviv with more. Hi, Brian.
Hi, Dana. Good morning. Well, Iran's Supreme Leader Mujtaba Khamenei has released a new written statement today that was read aloud by a presenter on Iranian state TV. It calls the United States the Great Satan and vows to protect Iran's nuclear and missile capabilities. The statement, also posted on X, says this about Americans, quote, those foreigners from thousands of kilometers away who are greedily carrying out transgressions in the Persian Gulf and Sea of Oman have no place here except at the bottom of its waters. Iran will put an end to the hostile enemy's exploitation of the Strait of Hormuz. Now, Khamenei went on to declare that the Strait of Hormuz is under Iran's new management and rules, reiterating Iran's intent to control the strait and continue charging some ships tolls. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Fox that this would be completely unacceptable to the U.S. and the world. Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps commander Ahmed Vahidi is thought to actually be the one calling the shots in Iran. The Supreme Leader, who is said to be seriously wounded from Operation Epic Fury, has not made one public appearance since he became the Ayatollah 2 months ago. But for now, President Trump has opted to extend the U.S. blockade on Iranian ports and continue the economic sanctions with the goal of collapsing Iran's economy, forcing them into a deal to end its nuclear weapons program.
We were able to grab about $350 million crypto assets, and then on top of another 100 that we had recently gotten. So we're almost at $500 million there, and we are freezing bank accounts everywhere. More importantly, we are making people less willing to deal with the regime.
President Trump has not taken new military strikes off the table and has warned Iran to get smart soon, or else. Dana.
Or else we all see what that means. Thank you, Brian.
So retired Lieutenant General Karen Gibson's here, former Director of Intelligence for U.S. Central Command. You got quite the resume, General. Thanks for your time. And now we have decisions before the president as to what to do next. Here was the question and then the answer from the Oval Office.
Do you think another wave of strikes will be necessary?
I don't know. It depends. We have talks. We're having talks with them now, and we're not flying anymore with 18-hour flights. They've come a long way. The question is whether or not they're going to go far enough. So at this moment, there will never be a deal unless they agree that there will be no nuclear weapons.
Okay. The options before him are obvious. What's the best one right now?
Well, I think it's interesting that I characterize the first part of this campaign as the kinetic portion from February 28th to April 8th, in which we imposed punishing airstrikes from the U.S. and Israeli militaries, and Iran countered with missiles and drones against infrastructure across the Gulf. Since the 8th, we've entered this economic phase. I like the term Operation Economic Fury, in which we are both using military assets to try to squeeze each other economically. Iran's strategy has always been make this campaign so politically and economically intolerable for us that we would decide to call it quits. Hence, their chokehold on the Straits of Hormuz. But now we've countered with this blockade, turning back, as I understand, over 40 vessels and denying Iran the vast majority of revenue that would come to it from goods, primarily oil and petrochemicals that are transited from the sea. They already had a failing economy. That's what generated the popular protests at the end of 2025 and the start of 26. But they've proved very resilient in the past to economic pressure, whether that was the pre-JCPOA sanctions or the maximum pressure campaign of the first Trump administration. I think the final thing I'd say on this is that the regime has never prioritized the economic well-being of its own people, even under the previous sanction regimes. When they had limited assets, they still prioritized funds to proxies and to their own military. So I think it remains to be seen how much it will take in terms of economic pressure to get them to make those additional concessions.
General, I mentioned this Wall Street Journal article last hour. I think it was so well done because there's a view inside of Iran. And at the end, the expert says Iranians will suffer hardship, but their pain tolerance threshold is higher. And that's something we really have to gauge. In the meantime, you're in the military, and with regard to hardware in the region, we're about to send a missile in that we've never used before. All right, it's called a hypersonic missile. Bloomberg headline: U.S. seeks to deploy a hypersonic missile for the first time. It's called the Dark Eagle. It has a range of 1,700 miles, can exceed Mach 5, which is greater than 4,000 miles an hour, $15 million each. I can tell you this, General, we were at the Reagan Defense Forum 2 years ago, and the entire forum was talking about hypersonic weapons because the Russians and the Chinese had beaten us so badly at this, and we had yet to really develop an effective one. Do you have confidence in the hypersonic weapon that we've developed? And if it were to be deployed, could we do it effectively now?
Yes. So to be fair, that's not something that I've tracked closely in terms of this performance of a weapon that has not been tested on the battlefield. I would make one comment that the Central Command submits a number of RFFs, or requests for forces, and it implies that the commander is considering various options that might require the use of those forces, such as elements of the 82nd Airborne Division, which are over now in the Middle East, but have not yet been used. And so just because an RFF has gone in, request for forces, doesn't mean there's a plan for its imminent use. But certainly, I think the commander wants to expand the range of options that are available to him beyond those already punishing airstrikes that we've done. It signals greater commitment and resolve on the part of the United States, and I think is something that is clearly being contemplated to use if it turns that this economic pressure that we are applying is not successful.
Okay, we'll see who makes the next move, right? Who's going to throw the next card down. General, thank you so much for coming.
All right, y'all. So what you guys think about that in regards to the Iranians and what they have in play? What I thought was interesting is when I saw on here from Y'all Are Retarded, he or she said, Iran just needs to give it up. They're hoping to hold out to the midterms, but the Supreme Court may have just ruined that plan. Interesting. Then we have Captain Homer talking about military intelligence and the Fort Bragg cartel, Operation Epstein Fury. And then Chris Sums 9004 was saying that Putin told Trump to stop attacking Iran. Interesting. Okay. Then we have Salim Jato saying this woman is full of poop. And Chris, I'm just saying, he heard this morning regarding the Putin comment, and he said, stop watching fake Fox News stations. I watch all the stations, okay? Now, speaking of that, Trump posted something about Iran. So let me show you guys that real quick. No, it was about Iraq, okay? Let me write this down, and let me show this to you guys real quick. Here we go. I'm going to read it to y'all, okay? I believe you guys can see that. Let me show you. So it says that congratulations to Ali Al-Zaidi on his nomination to be the next prime minister of Iraq. We wish him success as he works to form a new government free from terrorism that could deliver a brighter future for Iraq. We look forward to a strong, vibrant, and highly productive new relationship between Iraq and the United States. This is the beginning of a tremendous new chapter between our nations. Prosperity, stability, and success like never been seen before. Again, Ali, congratulations, President Donald J. Trump. Okay, so that's what he had to say about that. Okay, they have a new prime minister over there. Now, what are you guys saying here in the comments? Okay. We have Lunar Jewett saying Hegseth invoked the Pharisees portrayed in the New Testament as hypocritical critics of Jesus during a briefing on the war. Okay, he compared legacy Trump hating press to them for scrutinizing every good act of U.S. warriors while ignoring miracles like military successes. Okay, thank you for that explanation because I definitely wasn't tracking. I don't recall hearing him say it, but I do not watch every single press conference that he participates in. Okay. Then we have Lunar Jewett also saying to call it anti-Semitism is ignorant and a gross manipulation. Could he have said hypocrisy or another synonym? Sure, but some words grab attention and are more accurate. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for that explanation because I definitely wasn't tracking any of that regarding the Pharisees. Okay. Now, this other thing I have in regards to the Truth Social is about this whiskey thing here. Oh, let me get this down. This is too big. Here we go. That's better. It says, in honor of the King and Queen of the United Kingdom who have just left the White House, soon headed back to their wonderful country, I'll be removing the tariffs and restrictions on whiskey having to do with Scotland's ability to work with the Commonwealth of Kentucky on whiskey and bourbon. Two very important industries within Scotland and Kentucky. People have wanted to do this for a long time, in that there have been great inter-country trade, especially having to do with the wooden barrels used. The King and Queen got me to do something that nobody else was able to do without hardly even asking. A wonderful honor to have them both in the U.S.